One of the coolest things about video games is that you can simply pick up the controller and start playing again. Some games are so fun that we can't help but play them over and over. But with so many awesome games out there, how do you choose which ones are really worth replaying? In this video, we are going to talk about 16 amazing video games that are truly worth revisiting. Before we jump in, just a quick note that I'm only focusing on games that are at least 8 to 10 years old. We could go further back, but that would make this video way too long. With that in mind, we've got a lot of fun and exciting games to talk about here. So let's get started. Starting off with number 16, we have Watch Dogs. The original Watch Dogs game that released back in 2014 is now officially old more than 10 years. I know it had this big controversy because the game's graphics didn't live up to the quality shown in the E3 demo trailer. Despite these downfalls when it first released, this game is still a revolutionary free roam game and still loved by many gamers. I started to play this game a few weeks ago, and the first thing I noticed was the graphics. For a 10-year-old game, it was pretty impressive. But I got to admit that the driving is a little bit hard and the gun plays a little sloppy. The game has a cool main story and countless side missions that pop up, like go beat up this criminal, go destroy that convoy, go and eavesdrop here like you're playing Assassin's Creed again. Anyway, diving into Watch Dogs now is a much better experience, and it definitely won't disappoint. Next, over at number 15, we have Rise of the Tomb Raider. When Tomb Raider received its big reboot back in 2013, the series received a massive revival with new and veteran players enjoying the latest big adventure featuring Lara Croft. In 2015, a sequel to Tomb Raider landed into the market, and much like the reboot, Rise of the Tomb Raider was a big hit. In this one, you play as Lara on a solo mission into Siberia to discover a lost city. The world building and sceneries in this game are fantastic. The gameplay is more varied, and there's more options on how to play the game. And the world is much bigger, not to the level of, say, an open-world game, but there's definitely a lot of exploration to be done in the game. The story also feels more richer than other Tomb Raider games, with better cutscenes and level design. And I got to say that this game is arguably one of the best Tomb Raider games made to date, and is considered by many to be the standout entry into the franchise. Moving on to number 14, it's Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Nearly 10 years have passed since the original launch of this game, and it was the last installment of our beloved franchise Metal Gear Solid. Phantom Pain is still a masterpiece when it comes to stealth gameplay and storytelling. This Metal Gear Solid game gives you 2 big open-world maps to really do whatever you want. This game has a mind-blowing amount of guns and tools. You can also customize them with different equipment to suit your playstyle. And when it comes to stealth, there are so many options here, even more than Snake Eater, and they're so fun to play around with. It's also easily the biggest entry in the Metal Gear franchise, and you can easily spend dozens of hours sneaking behind enemy lines and listening to Cold War chart-topping hits. I know this game has a few flaws and a slightly unfinished atmosphere, but it's totally worth checking out. Next, over at number 13, we have Mad Max. This game came out back in 2015 at the same time as Metal Gear Solid 5 released, literally on the same day. Unlike other games, Mad Max is one of the most underrated video games of the past decade. But I think that this game is a lot better than a lot of people give it credit for. The game was based on the hit movie Mad Max Fury, but wasn't a direct tie into the movie. It was just basically a standalone thing. Anyway, Mad Max is all about explosive action and well-designed open world that is a joy to explore. Just like in movies, vehicles play a huge part in the game. You can battle with them and upgrade by adding various weapons and armors. The melee combat mechanics are pretty much an Arkham clone, but quite detailed and satisfying. You can also whip out metal pipes, wrenches to use against enemies, which makes the combat way more fun. I tried this game again a few months ago, and what really makes it stick for me is the open world. Despite being nearly 10 years old, the game still looks beautiful. With all this awesome things to offer, I think that this game really deserves to be revisited. Next, at number 12, we have Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. This is another 10 years old masterpiece that's worth revisiting again. Released back in 2014 by Warner Bros., this game is absolutely killer. Seriously, this game and The Last of Us are two of my favorite third-person experiences ever. This game takes the exploration and parkour mechanics of the Assassin's Creed series, mixed with the combat from the Batman Arkham series, and topped off with the Nemesis system that made every playthrough unique. The game is set in the lands of Middle-earth timeline in between The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings movies. The open-world experience in this game isn't the same barren, boiling wasteland that you may have seen in the Peter Jackson movies. It's not as high fantasy in its setting as some may expect, but it's not bad. With all these stunning takedowns, fun stealth system, and almost godlike battles, this game really deserves to be revisited. Now next over at number 11, we have Final Fantasy XV. Despite being released nearly a decade ago, Final Fantasy XV still managed to deliver an unforgettable adventure. Originally released in 2016, as the 15th main installment, this game marks a significant shift in the series, planning epic open-world adventure with satisfying action RPG mechanics. While JRPG are not exactly the kings of the open-world genre, this game still manages to excel us in its open world. There are so many things that you can do in the game, like exploring hidden dungeons, engaging in side quests, and even hunting various types of monsters. The combat system is fun with different weapons, abilities, and team-based attacks across 4 characters. For a game that came out in 2016, this could be a game that came out now. There are some incredible cloth physics and environment details for the time. Anyway, if you're looking for RPG experience with hundreds of hours gameplay, I think this game is totally worth checking out again. Down at number 10, we have Quantum Break. It's a video game title developed by the same folks behind the well-known game called Control. If you're really wanting the same kind of vibe from Control, you can't go wrong with hitting up Quantum Break. This game is a bit unique in the sense that it's part video game and part live action series. You play as a guy who has acquired time manipulation powers after an experiment with a time machine backfired. The game has a cool and dynamic time travel story that reacting to players' choices, and a solid gameplay with different time-based powers, like creating time shield to block bullets, running faster than time, freezing enemies, and more. Despite Quantum Break's age, it's no slouch in the visuals with great character models and impressive particle effects. So if you're a narrative junkie and crave a rich and vivid story, then you may want to give this game a shot. Moving on to number 9, we have Sleeping Dogs. This is a game that plenty of players likely missed out on. There wasn't a ton of love for the game originally, and a year later, Grand Theft Auto V came out. So only a few were probably looking back at this title to pick up. Still, Sleeping Dogs is a thrilling action-adventure game, where you'll take the role of a Hong Kong undercover cop who's on a mission to take down a criminal organization. The gameplay focuses on his martial art moves as he fights numerous enemies, as well as his parkour and shooting tricks. Unlike other open-world titles, Sleeping Dogs fistfights play out like classic 3D brawlers with a satisfying crunch to hits and plenty of environmental interactions. And it was received positively, especially the combat, wonderful voice acting, and depiction of Hong Kong. Sleeping Dogs is sadly a franchise that should have been much bigger than it was because of how quality it was. And yet it never really got the chance. But you can fix that in your own way by playing it now. And there's even a definitive edition available with all of the DLC extensions for players to enjoy. And number 8 is Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Mirror's Edge was a stunning title when it first released back in 2008, and it took Dice nearly 10 years to continue with the series. In 2016, we got a reboot of sorts with Mirror's Edge Catalyst that offers a bit of backstory of Faith Connors, which again is very much focused on traversing around the area using your Parker skills. And the big switch up this time is that it's set in a seamless open-world playground rather than a series of linear levels. The game is set in a futuristic city called Glass, which is pretty gorgeous with vibrant colors and sleek designs. In this open world, there are lots of stuff to do like side quests, runs, time trials, and more. It also has a cool story with good level design. The combat is a little bit too simplistic, but most of the time it's fun. While this is one of the best parkour games to have come out, it was a title that didn't quite hit the level of success that EA was likely hopeful for. So we don't know if we'll see Faith make a return for this franchise again. But if not, we still have two awesome games worth playing. Next at number 7, we have Just Cause 3. Just Cause is a series that is highly underrated to this day. Not many players have heard about this franchise. And even if they have heard about it, it's much less that they actually played the game. Released back in 2015, this game is the third in the Just Cause series and set 6 years after its predecessor. Just Cause 3 is all about exploring the giant world of Medici, blowing stuff up and then doing it again. The one word I can use to describe this game is fun. That's what it is. It's a game you play to have an absolute blast. There are a lot of beautiful places to explore in this huge tropical island, which is roughly 400 square miles. That means this map is 3 times bigger than GTA 5 Los Santos. The details are nowhere near as GTA 5 map, but it's not that bad. Players can use tools to travel around the island such as a wingsuit, parachute, and a grappling hook, which makes traversing the island alone so much fun. And there are tons of weapons that you can use to blow things up like rocket and grenade launchers, machine guns, shotguns, and more. You can also upgrade and equip your wingsuit with a jetpack, rockets, and machine guns. With lots of fun things to do, I think that this game deserves more attention from gamers. Now next over at number 6, we have BioShock Infinite. The original BioShock game was a revelation of a title in many ways. Then, back in 2013, from the makers of BioShock comes BioShock Infinite. It's been more than a decade since the release of this game. As you guys probably know, BioShock Infinite is freaking awesome. While the original title wowed us with its underwater utopia gone wrong, Infinite takes us to the flying city of Columbia with a colorful and fast-paced twist. The world is still equally richly detailed and fascinating to explore. And story is about 19's industrial revolution of man versus mechanical machine. You don't have to worry about the story because this game takes place several decades before the events of the first 2 games. The combat is pretty thrilling with the use of supernatural powers that players can unlock along with a slew of guns and a grappling system that allows players to quickly traverse around the map. Far from the escort mission that it might appear to be at first, this adventure between Booker DeWitt and Elizabeth is an experience that continues to age like fine wine. And it's a steampunk experience that begs for another visit. Down at number 5, we have Dying Light. Another Techland creation that used Dead Island for its foundations. Dying Light built on them with expertise and a sprinkle of individuality. When this game came out, it tried to blend 2 things together with relatively good success: zombies and parkour. This was a revolutionary game that became one of the great open-world journeys, and its weapon customization was a big hit as well. You're set in a city that is overrun with zombies. You have a mission from your superiors to do certain things within the city, and how you do those things at times is up to you, which includes using your incredible parkour skills to leap, bound, and climb just about everything in the city. Combat has been changed from the melee focus in Dead Island towards more gunplay, giving players a true action-adventure experience. The parkour is what the series is now known for, and oddly, the original hits a benchmark that the sequel couldn't quite reach. They're both fantastic, but the original has a little something special. And number 4 is Assassin's Creed Black Flag. The Assassin's Creed franchise has spanned countless games and featured various historical moments over its almost 20-year lifespan. One of the more iconic installments fans might point towards is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. First released in 2013, it was the game a lot of pirate fans dreamed of. This game takes players to 1715 during the golden age of piracy, and you take the role of Edward Kenway, one of my favorite protagonists in Assassin's Creed series. In the game, you can meet famous figures such as Blackbeard and Mary Read, sail across the Caribbean, listen to shanties, raid ships, and everything else someone might want to do as a pirate. Assassin's Creed Black Flag is the only game in the long-running series that gets everything perfect. Be it the beautiful shit combat, the missions, the storyline, and exploration, Black Flag had the perfect sync between the content and experience. Outside of combat, you can hunt animals for resources, search for buried treasure, explore underwater shipwrecks. It's a game jam-packed with content, but it's not overwhelming like the later Assassin's Creed games. It's just about the perfect length for a game like this. And it is not easy to create a timeless video game, but Ubisoft has undoubtedly achieved it here. Moving on to number 3, we have Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is still going strong with Game of the Year editions, VR versions, and now a big-budget TV show based on the Fallout universe. This game might be the best game in the franchise, even one of the best open-world role-playing games ever made. It's crazy to think that this game almost a decade old now. If you haven't played Fallout 4 yet, you're really missing out. This game is a nice little standalone 400-hour RPG set in a post-nuclear open world. This world is filled with a ton of enemy types ranging from monsters, zombies, giant bugs, mutants, and much more. You can explore a post-apocalyptic version of Boston with abandoned subways, businesses, historic landmarks, and more. For the first time in the Fallout series, the main character of the game is fully voice-acted.
What's going on? I'll talk to her. Maybe we can work this out. Appreciate it.
It increases the realism and immersion in the game, especially since you have to make decisions throughout the game. And thanks to mod support and loads of DLC, Fallout 4 is the kind of post-apocalyptic playground you could get lost in for hundreds of hours. Now, with the new released next-gen update enhancing game's overall experience, I think this game is totally worth checking out again. Next over at number 2, we have Batman Arkham Knight. It's been 10 years since the release of Batman Arkham Knight, and yet this game still stands as arguably the most iconic superhero video game ever, although Insomniac's Spider-Man has made waves in the scene recently. Arkham Knight is the third and final game in the series, which was released back in 2015. This time, Scarecrow and his whole crew of supervillains has made a return to terrorize the city. The Batmobile makes an arrival for the first time in the game, and this ride isn't just a means of getting around in the Gotham City. You'll also be able to turn it into a tank to fight enemies. Everything about the Batmobile is surprisingly really great. The open world is gorgeous and expansive. You'll spend hours flying around and taking down bad guys. There are many gadgets to select from, and fist fighting feels very brawly, with awesome combos and takedowns. It's quite baffling to think that nearly 10 years have passed since the original launch of the game, yet it still looks incredible. This game certainly looks, plays, and tells a much better story than Rocksteady Studios' last outing, Kill the Justice League. Now, finally, at number 1, we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. No list of good single-player games would be complete without championing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. This game is arguably one of the best and most successful open-world RPGs in existence. The game was released back in 2015, and kept getting better with time as CD Projekt Red added a number of DLC packs and a free next-gen update for the game. Masterful storytelling aside, this game's maps and environments are truly amazing. This world of Witcher 3 is filled with monsters, lots of places to explore, and tons of side quests that are as rich and engaging as the main story. With all these fun combat systems, unique weapon customization, engaging stories, and insane amount of replayability, this game is widely acknowledged as being a masterpiece of gaming. And the popularity of this game inspired the Netflix series of the same name. So if you are into swordplay, magic, and monsters, this game is a must-play. Hey, just a heads up before you go. I've got a cool bonus game for you. Ori and the Blind Forest. There have been many misconceptions about side-scroller games over the years. One of them is that these games can't have proper emotional depth due to their side-scrolling nature. Ori and the Blind Forest put that theory down hard the moment it came out. Easily one of the most impactful indie games in recent years, Ori and the Blind Forest is a masterpiece tale that all will enjoy when they play it. And this game is one of the most beautiful games I have ever played. You play as an adorable little spirit creature called Ori, who lives in a dying forest, and Ori must find a way to save it before it's too late. Ori has unique movement and combat abilities. Combining them together is quiet fun. And those soundtracks in this game are total masterpieces. Every track is beautiful and fits the world perfectly. This game won awards for Best Independent Game and Best Art of 2015. Best of all, if you're getting into this game franchise, there is the Definitive Edition, which further enhances the gameplay experience. Outside of improvements, there are new areas, abilities, difficulty modes, and some additional storyline sequences. Ori and the Blind Forest is definitely a game that you'll want to play multiple times. So, if you're looking for video games that deserve a second, third, or even 10th playthrough, consider diving back into these remarkable titles. They are guaranteed to reignite your love for gaming and remind you why they hold a special place in the hearts of players worldwide. Of course, there are so many other games, though, that we couldn't squeeze on this list. So I'd love to hear your choices down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video.